All right, good evening, Raider Nation. How you doing? This is Captain Jack, and this is another episode of Coast to Coast Raider Nation. And we are joined right now by my favorite lady. How are you doing? The Lady Raider of Anchorage, Alaska, Miss Angria Trask. How you doing, hon?
I'm doing great, Cap. How are you?
Well, I'm okay. I'm actually, and I think all of our audience is more worried about you and your family. So, in order to set things straight, let's just say we're gonna talk about things that are really important right now, which is how you're doing. So, go ahead and make sure that our audience knows exactly what happened. Give a little synopsis of probably the major event of the week and what you can talk about it. You're on the spot reporter.
Oh, well, basically, unless you've lived under a rock, you probably know that Alaska had a huge earthquake, a 7.0, which is not the biggest one that I've ever experienced in my life, but it is the it was the strongest one because it was right about 10 miles away from our city. So it was large. We had a lot of road damage. There are some major streets and highways and overpasses that are just completely demolished. Luckily, we had zero casualties. There were no deaths, major injuries, anything like that. So Alaska's doing really well when it comes to earthquake preparedness. And I'm thankful for that. My house had zero damage. I lost a box of Kleenex. That was really the only casualty. Other than that, we did really well. So
A box of Kleenex.
a box of Kleenex, yeah. It fell off of the back of the toilet into the toilet, and it got soaked because my son often forgets to put the lid down. It's a battle just to get him to put the seat down. But if that's the only thing lost, then I think we came out pretty well.
Okay, gentlemen, this is your clue that when the ladies say for you to please put the seat down and also the cover down, there is a reason behind that. You will not lose any Kleenex when it comes time for bad things to happen. I mean, just in the sheer case of maybe you might not live through another catastrophic Earth event like that, but your Kleenex and everything that is resting on the top of the lid on the, what do you call it, the back portion. There's a name for that. What the hell is that called?
The back of the toilet.
Yeah, the back of the toilet, whatever that is.
We have a rack that actually goes up above our toilets. We've got one of those bathroom racks, and it was up there, so it just fell off the shelf.
Okay, well, make sure that, gentlemen, put the seat down and put the cover down so you don't have to listen to the ladies bitch, or you won't lose any more Kleenex or anything else that's even worse.
It is a shame to lose a box of Kleenex.
Okay, well, we're just happy that you're here because that's the important thing, is that we had nothing major happen in the Trask household. So, again, Andrea, and all kidding aside, we're very happy that you're safe and nothing really bad happened to the residents of Anchorage.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the outpouring. There were so many people that tagged me or posted something on Twitter or Facebook or even in private messages asking how I was doing. So it was really, really appreciated.
Well, the important thing is that you're safe, and we can now know that the great earthquake of 2018, we didn't lose anybody of consequence, which we're happy about.
Yep. We all made it.
Well, that's good. Now, having said that, our Raiders didn't quite fare so well, but even though I was there, it was actually, what's the word I'm looking for, in the fact that being at the game and watching what was supposed to be a demolition on the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs at Oakland Alameda Coliseum, it never came to fruition. And I tell you, the fact that I had a lot of really cool Kansas City fans that I met at the event, they were expecting a slaughter, and we didn't give it to him. We did not give it to him. We actually had a hell of a game. I mean, every time I looked up at the scoreboard, it was very close. I think the farthest that I remember is obviously like a 13-point lead at the end of the first half, but the game was always pretty much in check. And I wanted to say that although I was not happy with the end results, I was quite happy with the way the Raiders played. And what do you think about that there, eh?
I agree. I was pleased with what we saw. My biggest takeaway from that game is that Derek Carr is our QB of the future. He was looking commanding, and he took control of that offense like he hasn't in 2 years. I saw a man who was comfortable in the pocket, even though that pocket still collapsed. I saw a man who was moving around in the pocket. I saw a man who threw downfield and had confidence in his receivers. I saw two receivers that were either 100 or just slightly below 100 yards. Jared Cook and Jordy Nelson both pulled in almost that triple digit. Jared made exactly 100 yards and Jordy made 97. That's impressive. That's a lot more than we've seen out of this team for a while. So bottom line, Derek Carr, hopefully, well, he hasn't silenced all the doubters because there's still a lot of mental illness that goes around the football community. But hopefully this is a very clear picture and important indicator of things to come.
Right. And to go back to what you were saying as well, like I said, to cap the stats, Carr, 285 yards in comparison to Mahomes is 295. Yeah, Mahomes had a bigger QBR at 95 to Derek's 80. But, other than the 4 touchdowns to 3 comparison, it was almost a evenly matched output by the quarterbacks. And the other thing that really upsets me is this, and it basically comes down to about a bunch of threes. 3 fumbles by the Raiders, what was the difference in the game. Also, the 3 sacks that Derek Carr had, along with a fumble of his own, was the difference. Now, if you look at Mahomes' stats, 0 sacks. And I tell you, that stat is a bit misleading because I tell you, the Chiefs were holding with impunity and didn't get called for dick. And that was just really, really, really pissing me off.
Yeah, I agree with that. And one thing to remember, okay, Patrick Mahomes may have had a higher QBR, but that is entirely based on his TDs. His completion percentage was a lot lower than Derek Carr's. He went 23 for 38. Derek went 29 for 38, excuse me. So the 10 yards and the 1 touchdown apparently negates that lower completion percentage, which is crap, but we all know that no one, nowhere, anywhere is going to release that formula that they use to determine what the QBR is. But I think that Derek Carr was a better quarterback on Sunday than Patrick Mahomes was. The difference maker was Travis Kelce, and the offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs did a better job defending their quarterback. Like you said, holding with impunity is the perfect way to put it, because I saw virtually no holding calls against. I don't remember if there were any holding flags against Kansas City. However, there was a very, very important one in the beginning of the game that knocked us out of scoring contention. So Rodney Hudson, who is rarely, if ever, flagged for anything, apparently committed this egregious hold against somebody somewhere, somehow in time. And I actually missed the first couple of minutes of this game, so I'm glad that I missed that one because I didn't have to be pissed off for the first 10 minutes. But so yeah, we had a lot of nasty calls against us. Travis Kelce should have been less 1 touchdown because that was not a touchdown. We did get away with a couple of plays that I saw that I know that they could have called, a couple of flags. But overall, it's not something we're not used to, seeing horrible flags going not our way.
Actually, I wanted to talk about that there, and I'm going to start with the Travis Kelsey, the one touchdown that he got that was not a touchdown. I think you're talking about the one at the very end of the first half, correct?
Yes.
Okay. First off, and you got a chance to see it on TV because I'm seeing it live, and I didn't get a chance to. Like I said, didn't get the big screen TV and all of the replays that you got. But what was the major malfunction of that long run I should say the long pass and run by Conley rolling across the field where he is tackled and he should be, the clock should still be running, and then the officials did just let the clock, they stopped the clock when it should have been running. I want you to give your bird's eye view of that, because again, I couldn't really tell from my seat that was a muffed call.
Well, primarily what happened was he was past the ball and went down in the end zone. He didn't have control of that ball. People are saying, oh, it can hit the ground. No, 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 no. It cannot hit the ground. The ball may touch the ground, but you still have to have control of that ball. And he did not have full control of that ball. There is no way that was a touchdown. If the Raiders had scored that way, it would not have been a touchdown. We probably would have seen a similar tantrum from Andy Reid. That, Gruden threw that challenge flag. Basically, I think he wanted to throw it at somebody's head, and that's the only reason he threw it, to make a point. He wanted to make a point, and what he mouthed was the words, call New York again and have them look at it, because this is I mean, I'm pretty sure he used pretty colorful language, but the wording that I saw, that many people saw, was call New York again. And it was a message. It was a clear statement. You guys screwed that up. That was a horrible call. You know it was a horrible call. And the fact that they didn't even really review it, they barely touched the review on that thing. All they did, I think it took less than 30 seconds. And when you're not playing game clock, 30 seconds is quick. So normally, I mean, if it's a clear touchdown, I get it. You got to do a quick review and say, yep, that's it. Otherwise, if it's not, and that clearly was not, they should have taken a couple of minutes to review that, like they did with the one that they called back because Reggie Nelson actually made a good play later in the game when Kelsey had caught a touchdown, or caught a pass and went down. But he got up because he felt like he wasn't touched. Well, Reggie Nelson reached out and touched his knee while his other knee was still on the ground. That saved us a touchdown, and that was the appropriate call. They actually went back and reviewed that. They took their time. They looked at it from every different angle and said, okay, yeah, clear. We have to put him down at the 7-yard line or whatever it was. I think it was around the 7. But that first touchdown should not have happened. We should not have gone into the second half down 7 points like that.
Okay, I was going to say, Reggie Nelson at least stopped them for a touchdown for at least, about 30 seconds, because I remember they scored on the next play.
Right.
Yeah,
but it is what it is. I was pleased that Reggie did something, even though he's been placed on IR, which I think we're gonna get hate mail from Pittsburgh for that, and that's okay. That's cool. I'm fine with that. But obviously Reggie put his heart and soul into that game. He hit Travis Kelsey real hard in the first half. I thought maybe he wasn't going to come back for a play or two. He came back after one snap, but he still put himself on the field, and he made some plays. I was really, really proud of Reggie that game.
Well, that's one game that we can be proud of Reggie, and like you said, that's the last game, technically, that we're going to be proud of Reggie for this year. I would like to say, and not that I'm a super Reggie hater overall. I don't like the fact that he's playing on a team when we know that he's lost a step. I will say that he had a decent game for what will be his last game of this year. Whether it's his last game as a Raider remains to be seen, but I think that both you and I were kind of upset that he even made the team last year, let alone this year. So again, no hate and discontent to Reggie, but thanks for the memories. And if you want to come back to the Raiders next year, by all intents and purposes, please come back and be an assistant to the defensive backs coach, where you can actually teach folks to, again, tackle, put the hands out, and make sure that the guy is down before he goes in for another touchdown. Because fair winds and following seas through Reggie Nelson.
Yeah, and one thing to remember is Reggie Nelson was a good safety at one point in time. He's older, he's lost a few steps, but he still has that smart in his brain somewhere. He still has that. I mean, he's obviously, he can still connect it. Like when he's on the field and he sees a play in front of him, he can connect. Okay, I'm here. This is what I need to do. Some people don't have that wherewithal, but he still has it, and I gotta respect that.
Well, we are joined by the other member of our crew. Big L has come in, so I'll let L talk. His normal remembrances for his favorite Huckleberry. Go ahead there, L.
Hello, beautiful.
Hi, how are you, Big?
Why I gotta be big?
Because that's your first name, Big L.
Well, it's more of a descriptive word.
Oh, so it's an adjective.
Well, unpack me, baby.
Oh.
So, are we? We're discussing the weekend review, I'm assuming.
Yes, sir.
So, I take away from it what I've been discussing and expressing just in general. How can you be remotely disappointed with the effort? I mean, if you're going to make mistakes, like I've been saying, they're kids, except Doug Martin. If you're going to make mistakes, make them going 100 miles an hour.
Oh, we haven't even gotten to that. Yeah, we haven't gotten to the three fumbles. No. We were talking about the, and that'll be a good segue once we stop to this point. We were talking about Travis Kelce killing us, and we were talking about Reggie Nelson. Actually laid out Kelce on the one time, and actually did the one good thing by touching him when he was down, which negated one of his touchdowns. And so we were saying that we can't stand Travis Kelce, who did burn us 12 receptions, 168 yards, and a 14 average. Again, if the Raiders can learn how to cover Travis Kelce, we'll be in a hell of a lot better position next year.
However, one of the key things that we already knew, all three of us and the rest of the world knew, Kelce was going to be our Achilles heel going into the game. So that's no real big surprise. We were going to have trouble covering him because we do not have a safety that can take care of him one-on-one. The way that our defense is schemed, we didn't have a corner that was going to be able to roll over on him. And with our linebacker game, we weren't going to have a linebacker, so we were going to have to combo cover him, and we didn't do it. And with the youth of our defense now, the only person that was going to have somebody remotely available to cover him was Grandpa.
Who's played his last game.
Right, because mysteriously, he ended up on IR today. Yay! that was a high five over here with the cap and I.
Yeah.
So,
I heard that.
I was going to say, go ahead, Andrea. While I got a chance, Andrea, in case anybody is not tracking, I will say what the latest roster moves are for the day. We've already discussed the fact that Reggie Nelson has been placed on the IR. Martavis Bryant, who has had his knee problems for a while, is now officially on the IR. And Shalik Calhoun, defensive end, is on the IR. Two others were cut. Ian Silverman, the swing tackle.
Again.
And Fadal Brown, again. He was cut because the guy just cannot stay on side to save his life. Now, welcome to the Raiders' 5 players. We're talking C.J. Anderson, late of the Carolina Panthers, but obviously the more famously known Denver Bronco, the running back. Denzel Good, So we have a good chance of getting an offensive lineman that can help us out. But
Oh, Captain, that
okay.
was just bad. That was
Cornerback
bad.
Ben Wikari.
We'll just call him Ben Ben.
Ben. I like that. Ben. Defensive end Coney Ely, who is back on the team after we cut him about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And Demontre Moore, who was a gentleman that we cut last year, or was it this year? Or he's been on the team.
He's been around, but
Yeah.
we. Oh, by the way, Tommy, I'm here. Because he reminded me not to be late.
Okay. Well, Tommy is here. And Tommy, thanks again for sharing this up to all of the groups so that we know that everybody's in there. And by the way, Donald Penn is designated to come back for a return, so we might actually get some help at right tackle. Although, to be honest, Parker's been playing better in the fact that he's getting some game experience. Has he been playing well? No, but he's our tackle of the future pending further development. So Donald Penn is coming back for a couple games of what will be his last games, I'm sure, as an Oakland Raider.
Wow.
And just because of saying that, that means that we definitely have seen the last of Marshawn Lynch, because with Jelly Ellis coming back this week and Penn slated to return, there will not be another Marshawn Lynch sighting in Oakland. That ship has sailed.
Yeah, I don't think that
Oh,
he will
wait.
be. Well, because of the rules, he's not going to be able to come back off of IR. But I think these are Donald Penn's. I think one of the reasons why that move was made was because these are Donald Penn's last games as a professional football player. I think he's going to retire after this year.
I believe so as well.
So I think it was also a courtesy. And again, I think that Marshawn's career extension will depend on where we play next year. Because
So,
I still think that
guys.
there's a little bit left in the tank. As far as us transitioning, it's going to be a definite, possibility for him to come back, depending on what we do in the offseason. As far as his recruitment to return next year is going to depend on what we do in free agency.
And yeah, I saw that you were chiming in. Go ahead, hon.
I was just trying to say, with the higher and higher likelihood that we're going to play in Oakland next year, do you really think it's the last we've seen of Beast Mode?
Well, I was going to say, I want you to say what you've heard. You said the higher and higher likelihood. Go ahead and go off on that tangent real quick.
Well, the rumblings are that we may have a higher possibility of playing in Oakland next year than we had originally thought. If the team can work out whatever its beef is with the city, which is really all the city's fault. They need to get over themselves and start being a little bit more realistic. Because let's face it, that's going to be a cash influx they're not going to have after next year. So they might as well take it now. I think we may actually see the team in Oakland still.
Okay, I know that, and I've said it as well, that pending those developments. Now, I actually did have somebody that tell me that they were talking to some people in the front office, and that the likelihood is, I don't want to say definitive, but it has been elevated. So I'm not going to put it as a dead dog in the fight. I do know that next year, if it does in fact happen, that when I get my season tickets, I'm not breaking up the package. I'm just making sure that I keep the package and put the season tickets on my phone, so I have definitive remembrances of the last year in Oakland. Having said that, though, I'm going out this week to see the Stillers, and I'm going out on Christmas Eve to see the Broncos, and I'm hoping to see at least one win in those two trips to Oakland. But we'll get to that in a little bit later. But thanks for your input as well there, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, me personally, I hope we see 2 wins, especially against the Broncos, because I have a standing bet, and I do not want to have to pay off the bet against the Broncos.
Okay, can I say one thing?
Yes.
If y'all can get a ticket for me to go down, we're gonna win that game.
She has a point. The Huckleberry is the good luck charm.
Just win, ladies, is the good luck charm. The 2 games that we've attended, 2 games we've won. That's all I'm saying. Coincidence?
Well, I was going to say, I was at the one, so I'm at least a good luck charm for an away game. So I'm hoping that when I go to Cincinnati, that'll be another win.
Well,
Yeah, see, there you go.
do it. Bring it, Jack.
See, I definitely agree. But I still think that there's just an aggressive reason to celebrate because we get to see new blood in the secondary because ding dong, the Reggie's gone.
Ding dong, Reggie's gone. Which oh which, the Reggie which. Ding dong, the Reggie which is dead. Whoop whoop.
Oh, dinner and a show.
Hey,
Well, we aim to please.
you
Yep.
can't beat this with a stick. I tell you what, while we were, and Al gave us the good segue, I am going to talk about, like I said, the other 3, the other 3 that really hurt. And again, we've already said that, A, they shouldn't have gotten that last touchdown at the end of the first half. You're saying that Kelsey bobbled it. And again, so instead of drawing to within 6, the Raiders are down 13. But again, Kelsey gets the ball, bobbles the ball, no touchdown. But what I will say is this. The big 3, the number 3 that hurt the most was the fact that every one of our running backs, Doug Martin, DeAndre Washington, and then Richard. I almost said Maurice Richard, who is the hockey player, but
Yeah.
what's
The
Richard's-
Rocket.
Yeah, the Rocket. There you go. Wow, hockey,
Yes.
hockey knowledge from
Yes.
Big L. Not the Rocket, but the other Rocket of a speedster, Richard, had a fumble, and Richard's fumble, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that hurt the most because Richard had gotten the Raiders down to, I want to say, about the 28-yard line of the Broncos. He fumbles the ball. The Chiefs recover it, and then they go on their march, and they get a touchdown. So instead of what would have been like at least a 3 to 7 point swing for us, becomes a 14-point swing in the fact that the Chiefs ended up getting a touchdown. Your views on that, Angria?
Well, let me see. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. My microphone got cut out there. Well, first of all, when you said Rocket, I was thinking Rocket Ismail, but
No, we were
I-
laying some hockey knowledge on you. Maurice Rocket Richard of the Canadiens, Le Habitant.
well, I'm sorry. I'm an old football person. I don't watch hockey. Not no
No
more
worries.
anyway. Anyways, yeah, I was disappointed that all of our running backs fumbled. I think that's something that's just a matter of practice. They need to hold those balls in their hands. They were doing some really interesting drills today. Okay, stop it. That did not need to go that way.
I'm sorry. It's just the way it was delivered.
Goodness. Are we done?
Yes, we're done.
Okay,
That was
back to
just
adult.
that was beautiful.
They did some interesting drills today where they had, the boxing gloves on sticks, and they were just punching at them while they were doing their running drills. So it looks to me like they're clearly trying to get these guys acclimated to exactly what they what they're going to see on the field and what's going to make them hold on to the ball, like tuck the ball. That's the biggest problem I had with Richards is he didn't tuck that ball like he should have. If you watch guys like Marshawn Lynch, he holds that ball to his rib cage like it's a part of him. And even when he moves it away, he's got it held to in such a position that it's not going to move. He can just pull it right back in. Richard is still young. Remember, this is year 3 for him, and he's got time. Doug Martin, you could see with the rest of the game that he played, he beat himself up for that. He knows that he screwed up. So it is what it is. Those three fumbles probably cost us the game, but I still think that given what we did to try to come back, I'm I'm pleased with our team.
Yeah, I was really pleased with the effort. Like I said, not the end result, but every time I looked up on the scoreboard and I'm going through the stats, and again, I didn't have all of the full stats when I was talking to the K-Don that I usually do the after the game. You know, I do the after the game call into the show. And again, I did not have the stats on me, but from what I was looking at on the scoreboard before I left, they were very, very close in all of the categories. We already said how close the passing categories were. I think even in time of possession, if I'm not mistaken, the Raiders had a slight time of possession in our favor. I know the yardage was close to being the same. So if you look at things all being equal, again, you take that touchdown away from them at the end of the first half, and ultimately that is the 7 points that is the difference of the game.
Yeah. And that it's a momentum swing too. If there is so much more to mentality on the field than some people want to give credit. When you are riding high and you're running and you're driving down the field, it is a boost. I mean, it gives you that adrenaline rush. It is a physical thing. It's a physical change, people. And then when you don't have, things aren't going your way, you look dead, you look like you did in the San Francisco game, no adrenaline happened there. There was no endorphin rush. There was nothing there that showed that these guys were, there was no wind in their sails, as it were. It's a real thing. It's not just, rhetoric. It's not just talking, not just making excuses. But when you have some momentum going, it drives you. It drives you a lot. And that may have made an even bigger difference in the game.
Well, then we're going to, shall we say, put a headstone on KC Oakland Part 1 of this year. Because, again, we're going to face them in the super duper, oh my God, it's freaking cold outside, last game of the year, when hopefully the Raiders will be able to do something to knock out the sales on the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, that we'll visit that in a couple weeks, but I'm hoping that something can be done in the meantime. And the first in the meantime we have is a fracas, an event that almost always has been something of high climax, and that is the normal, usual meeting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Actually, I had to look back on this, and it wasn't. We're going on almost 3 years since the Raiders played the Steelers. If I remember this correctly, and I'm looking at the score, 38-35, the last time that we played the Steelers, and it was in Pittsburgh. It was a super-duper close game all the way through. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that all the Raiders had to do was make sure that they kept the ball out of Antonio Brown's hand, and at the very end of the game, they could not do that. They could not stop the connection. Ben, rapist, pervert. I'm sorry, Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I had it right the first time.
You somewhere in there.
Ben, rubbing pervert.
Rapist, whatever.
Ben, who should be on the field.
And again, at the very end, at the last drive, throwing to Brown continually down the field. In fact, it was actually one super long game that set up the winning field goal. The Steelers win at the very end in Pittsburgh, 38-35. Now, Andrea, because I know you are stats are us. If I'm not mistaken, and you can tell me if I'm wrong otherwise, I don't think Ben has a win at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum. Am I correct in that?
You are correct.
Okay. So other good things that are going our way. If you haven't checked the injury report, there are things that are actually lining up for the Raiders in the fact that Pittsburgh is coming in without their A1 running game, but also their 1B running game, and James Conner is out. I don't know if he's out for the year, but I know he's definitely out for the game. So probably the gentleman that's been keeping the Steelers actually somewhat playoff cognizant, James Conner, is out for the game. So I don't know who the backup is. It's one of those things for where's Waldo. We'll have to go through the Steelers roster to figure out who the hell is going to be coming in to be the running threat for the Steelers. But that is a component that makes them, I want to say, dare we say, maybe one-dimensional. So if the Raiders can actually do somewhat of some attention in the passing game, maybe we can actually pull out a win this time. What about your thoughts on that there, Angria?
Well, the thing is, our defense is going to have to really do a flop, because right now the way our defense looks is we do really well against the run. That's where our strength is, and our secondary is still challenged. But this weekend showed that our secondary really does have the skills. They have the chops to be able to step in there and go up against good receivers. Tyreek Hill was kind of negated throughout the entire game. I mean, there were some downfield passes that Carl Joseph just completely cut him off, some that he just completely missed. So something was going right in our secondary. Gary Conley looked like a first-round pick in this game. If he can actually hold on to that interception that went straight through his hands, this is a different game as well. So I don't think we have anyone on our secondary that can compete with Antonio Brown. But if we play a cover two, or if we play some sort of a defense where, if we do like a wide zone or something that allows us to put extra coverage when he's going to look down at Brown, or if, we can negate Schuster somehow, then there's a possibility we can get this. But their running game, you're right, I think we can contain that running game, which means that Ben's going to have to step up and throw out of that pocket a lot more than he probably needs to usually.
Well, actually, I was going to say, and thanks to Tommy, who is a contributor here, the old pal Stephen Ridley, late of the New England Patriots, is actually their backup running back, which has now been thrust into their starting running back. So thanks for the information here, Tommy, for all of the other listeners out there. I mean, I could have gotten that, but hey, Tommy's just Johnny on the spot, so thanks for that as well. Now, as you said, trying to contain Antonio Brown. What's your recollections on that there, Big L?
See, now with Antonio Brown, what gets interesting is, once again, with our defense, the best way to contain him is going to be our pass rush. What our greatest issue has been not getting calls for the headlocks and body presses that our defensive ends have been getting coming off the edge, and not getting any calls. Because with the youth in the secondary, Conley's playing way better. And on the other side, what's his face? The one that was suspended earlier. Wearing number 22.
Rashawn Melvin?
No, not Melvin. Melvin's an oxygen thief. That we kicked the tires on him, and he will not be getting paid after this year.
Well, Worley's number 20.
Worley, that's what
20.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah, because 22 is Melvin, so yeah, Worley was number 20.
Between Worley and Conley, we have a decent foundation with potential number 1 and 2 corners for a while. In free agency and draft and whatever, we should be okay with that building block. But we'll need to find a way. Brown's going to have to get covered in some sort of,
he's going to have to be bracketed.
Yeah, he's going to have to get bracketed in some sort of over-under type of zone situation. I'll be interested to see the progression of, the rookie out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, Nick
now that
Nelson.
he's
I mean, he's getting some good reps in there. Yeah, he's making quote unquote rookie mistakes because oh my God, he is a rookie. But
What?
he's starting to get it.
And he was hurt for a good portion of the season. But the thing is, let's just hope he's not another Obi and he stays hurt constantly. But I don't see that as the case. He's been hurt once and he's been playing and gradually getting better with his exposure to live action. And, so I think at the safety position we have the potential to be gradually improving because Joseph has just been,
He's been
Lights
showing
out.
the reason why he is a first-round pick. I'm sorry, Andrea. I didn't mean to step on you.
That's okay. He's been lights out. That's all I was going to say. I love Carl Joseph on the field right now.
Yeah.
Love him. And here's the difference I see between Nelson and Melifonwu. Nelson wants to play, and he looks like he's just hungry. He makes those rookie mistakes, but like Captain said, he's a rookie. He's anxious. He's excited. He wants to be there. He wants to make a play. So, yeah, he's blowing some stuff. It's going to happen. More time and more training and more exposure to these things is going to give him that, obviously, it's going to give him that knowledge that he needs. Football knowledge doesn't come immediately. It's experience. That's why vets are better than rookies. It just happens. I'm sorry. It's just way of the world. It is what it is. But Nick Nelson has flashes of what we think we need as a safety. KJ has been hitting like a freight train. I called him, the other day, last week, I think actually it was against the Baltimore game, I said something about him hitting people so hard they can go back and visit their ancestors. So one of my cohorts over there at Raiders Podcast Network said something about him being, we should call him 42 and me instead of 23 and me. So
42.
anyone who gets
I'm
that,
digging that. 42 and
yeah.
me.
So yeah, he's if he got any bigger, he would hurt people like really bad. And I think Carl Joseph, if we put him at free safety, keep Nick Nelson at strong safety somewhere, and even maybe having a rover somewhere. That's a good looking start to a secondary that we haven't had in a long time.
Well, then let's act. I'm sorry. While we're here, let's actually look at some of the team statistics of how we are going to match up against the Steelers. Total yards per game, and obviously, I know your stats are us there, Miss A. So if I'm screwing any of these up, please let me know. Pittsburgh is rolling with about 414 to the Raiders 350. Obviously, their offense is doing a hell of a lot better. Big Ben is throwing for 321 to Derek's 242. But here's where it's going to get really good. Oakland is averaging about 105 yards on the ground to Pittsburgh's 93. Now, that is with James Conner. I dare say that I don't think Stephen Ridley is going to even average close to that. So I think that we can keep the rushing game bottled up. Average yards per play, Pittsburgh at a 6.2, Oakland at a 5.5. Points scored, obviously, this is where there's a big disparity. Pittsburgh is averaging right at 29, and Oakland is averaging at 18.3. Have no clue what the hell that was, but
my bad.
L's phone just went off. Fumbles lost. Oakland is at about 1 per game, and Pittsburgh is
It did it again.
What the hell are you seeing over there?
It was something that somebody sent me. My bad.
Okay. And here's another one that's even in our favor. Pittsburgh averaging about 1 pick a game, where Oakland is less than 1 pick a game. Pittsburgh is averaging at 1 point.
It's gone.
1.5
now
sacks.
You're doing it on purpose, dude. Come
allowed a game, whereas Oakland is averaging about 3.5 sacks per game. Time of possession is straight up even, 31 minutes apiece. Third down efficiency is pretty close. Pittsburgh at 44% with Oakland at 38%. Penalties, actually, Pittsburgh is leading in that category, 7.5 penalties a game to Oakland 6.6. Total yards allowed, what you would expect. The Raiders are averaging right up at about 400 yards a game. Pittsburgh at about 330. and it doesn't really matter when it's points allowed. Obviously, Raiders averaging about 31, Pittsburgh about 24. And if you put all of the stats together, it doesn't mean a damn thing. It just means that these are a bunch of numbers that people will be looking at. So now that we've looked at the numbers, and we know that Pittsburgh is going to be down a running back, and the Raiders obviously are pretty good at taking the run away. They have Stephen Ridley to contend with, and I honestly don't think that we're going to have too much of an issue there. I think that obviously, if the Raiders play up to their capacities, this is a winnable game. But before we go to that, before we go to our conjecture as to what we think will happen, I'd like to take a little bit to do some reminding of what is the most memorable game that you can think of between Pittsburgh and the Raiders. And I mean, everybody's going to throw out the the Immaculate Deception. I got it. We all that's our go-to game. But to me, and I got mine. And if do you mind if I go first, guys?
Please do.
You go for it.
Okay. To me, the most memorable game between Pittsburgh and Oakland was the AFC Championship game, where it was, I call it the finally game. Finally. Pittsburgh comes out to Oakland with the auspices of going to Super Bowl 11. And to make, obviously, a long story short, Pittsburgh is always bitching, well, we didn't have Franco that game, or we didn't have Rocky that game, and all of our other players were injured, and yada, 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 yada. I don't care if Jesus Christ himself put on a Pittsburgh white uniform that day. There was nothing that was going to stop the Raiders defense from clobbering the Steelers in Oakland in what is finally the victory to propel the Raiders over the Steelers. And I remember every year of my childhood, it was always losing to the freaking Steelers, whether it was the Immaculate Deception game, whether it was another frozen ice on the Pittsburgh Three Rivers Stadium carpet. I always had to go back to school in late December knowing that my entire Christmas vacation was shot because we lost to the friggin' Steelers again. Well, that victory to me in, I believe, 76, because I know the Super Bowl was in 77, the finally winning against the Steelers victory was my favorite game against the Steelers. Angria, what any recollections that you'd like to pass to us?
I've studied the Immaculate Reception game so many times. It is what, that's kind of the quintessential Raiders-Steelers rivalry game. But there have been so many just even pieces of games that caused this rivalry to be so ugly. And I get that people think that, oh, your AFC West rivals are supposed to be so much worse. But this upcoming weekend is the rivalry that always gets under my skin the most. And it's because in the 70s, when it was the greatest era in football, I don't care who you are or what you say, it was the greatest era in football. We had two slobber knocker Goliath giant teams that were always fighting. Lynn Swann hated the Raiders because he called us criminals and cheaters and all this other stuff. And Mean Joe Green was always trying to rival the nastiness of the Raiders. People forget he was an ugly player. Let's not diminish that at all. Mel Blount was also one of the players that comes to mind. It's just all these things conglomerate to make this huge, nasty, just like gleh. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm not sure the word I'm trying to find, but this whole rivalry is, to me, is just like there's just no wrong answer. I don't know. It's just that the Immaculate Reception one was so blatant. It was just so ugly. The amount of stuff these two teams have done to each other over the years, just for general spite, it all lends to the entire mystique of this rivalry. And I think this is the greatest rivalry in football history, to be honest.
Wow. I mean, I want to say bravo on that analysis. And again, I know that honestly, it is my biggest memory of any Raider rivalry. It will always go back to Raiders versus Steelers. So, and I'm glad that you feel that way as well, Angria. I know that I do as well.
Good. We're not alone.
It's my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Oh, okay. I have to echo the sentiment of, well, both of you, because those are both equally my two most memorable games other than the 3 Super Bowls, because, well, that one and my favorite one, the Holy Roller, because I mean, the Holy Roller, I mean, how much better does it get than Ken Stabler accidentally fumbling a ball forward underhanded 10 yards to Casper, who then fumbles the ball forward another 12 yards into the end zone.
No. You forgot Banashak.
Well, yeah, Banaszak, I mean, you can't forget number 40. Oh, and by the way, for all of the minority advancements in NFL history that we are very proud of, you realize the Raiders were also the last team to field an all-white skill position lineup.
And we haven't had one since.
No, we haven't. Van Egan, Banaszak, Bob Chandler, Biletnikoff, and Dave Casper, with the quarterback being Ken Stabler.
Wow, you know what? I'm going to have to remember that, because that is definitely a sucker bet at a bar that can definitely make a lot of money for a bunch of different people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because people forget that Bob Chandler was the wide receiver.
That's
Branch
right.
was injured.
That's right. Hey, one other thing as well, are you finished with your comment? Because I don't want to step on you.
Well, because the thing was, and people, especially Steeler fans, forget, we had a winning record against the Steelers in the 70s. We just lost the 3 biggest games of the season against them. Actually, in 75 when we lost the Immaculate Reception game?
That's 72.
That was 7. No, it wasn't 72.
72 was December
72.
72 was the Immaculate Deception game, trust me.
That was the first game that Ken Stabler went in and finished the game.
That's right. Okay. We had
and by the
beaten
way,
them
we
earlier
still
that year.
We still lead the series 15-13.
Yeah. And they've gone on a run against us to get it that close. But
yeah, they had.
In the 70s, we dominated them.
Mm-hmm.
Except when it counted.
Yeah, we always lost the title games, but we beat them during the season. But that's also because our attrition was in our division, because we had better teams in our division than they had in theirs. Because we had the Chiefs, the Broncos, and the Chargers. Well, the Chargers were a walkover, which they've always been. But they had the Bengals, who sucked, the Browns, who were halfway decent, and who was the fourth team in their division?
What in whose division?
The Steelers. There was the Bengals, who notoriously sucked. The Browns, who
Bengals, Browns, Colts.
The Colts always sucked.
Yeah.
So the Steelers pretty much had 3 walkovers 90% of the time, because the Browns didn't return to any remote prominence until the mid-'80s. So they basically were the New England Patriots of the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, they always got into the playoffs basically by default.
Yeah. And so they always, that's how they ended up with home field advantage against us all the time, because we actually had to fight in our division and they didn't.
Yeah.
So my memory was the Immaculate Reception. I remember crying because I was yelling, "That's not fair," because the rule was you could not advance a forward lateral. And
no,
it was proven
that was not the rule.
Well, he couldn't.
That was not the rule.
Well, the fact was that Fuqua, the ball never touched the Raider.
Right. The rule was an offensive player could not bat it to another offensive player. So if two offensive players touched the ball, it was supposed to be.
And because it was a forward lateral, it made it an illegal play.
Well, it wasn't.
Are you talking about the Immaculate Reception?
The Immaculate Incompletion, yes.
Yeah, the Immaculate Deception. I'm not sure how you're getting it. It was a forward lateral there.
It wasn't a forward lateral. It was a full pass. Terry Bradshaw passed it.
Right.
Jack Tatum hit who was
Frenchie
it?
Fuqua.
Frenchie.
He knocked the living life out of him.
He hit Frenchie so hard that the ball glazed off his hand. And that was where the
ricocheted forward.
Was.
That's why I called it a forward lateral.
No. It did not ricochet forward. It popped in the air.
It popped backwards.
And it was trapped, ergo the deception issue.
Right.
It was trapped on the ground by Franco. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to run into the end zone.
The most overrated running back in the history of football.
Well, actually, I'm going to see Franco this weekend, so I'll make sure I pass that along to him.
Please do.
He's coming in with Raider royalty. Phil Villapiano is escorting him as his bodyguard this weekend.
Yes.
Well,
because
that's fine.
Franco said that he would not enter that stadium unless he got to go with Phil.
Yeah, and Phil will take care of him, and I know Jimmy Adams will be there as well, and I hope to pop in with that entourage a little bit. But anyway, getting back to the deception, the things that always pissed me off about that play was a couple things, twofold. The fact it was offensive player to offensive player. The ball popped because Tatum just leveled the hell out of Fuqua. The ball pops into the air, and Pete, McKinnon or the tight end
McElhaney or something.
Yeah,
McElhaney.
who was the tight end, clips Villapiano, which should have been a penalty, and it wasn't called.
Right.
Then the ball is scooped up after either a bounce or a trap, because you notice that NBC never showed you the bottom portion of that frame.
That ball scraped the ground.
And this is not a rule with the dude from the Bucks, where you can have the ball hit the ground, kind of like what we were talking about earlier with Travis Kelce. No, it shouldn't have been a catch. But again, the ball was trapped on the ground, and then Franco stumbles into the end zone. And what a lot of other people don't remember is that the defensive back, and it was number 20, and I want to say, oh my goodness, I can't remember who number 20 was, knowing that you cannot knock out Franco to end the play, you would knock them out of bounds, then the Steelers would have had a chip shot field goal. He couldn't do that. So he had to try to make the tackle. The tackle was not made, and Franco goes into the end zone. Now, here's the other thing, which a lot of people do not know, but I do, and I know that Angria does. The officials on the field did not make a immediate call. There was not a touchdown flash into the air. None of that was made. The officials went into the dugout at Three River Stadium in what was the Pirates side. They get on the phone. Now, officially, nobody knows who they're on the phone with, but I'm guessing that in the replay days, they get on the phone to New York. And after a good 5 minutes, even though Madden is screaming at them as to get a call on the play, the official actually was known to call to find out how many security people were at the stadium that day, because it was a December day and the Pittsburgh crowd was quite lubricated at the time. The head official, the referee, finds out that there's about 7 security people for the entire stadium. Well, once he figures this out, he comes out of the dugout and throws his hands in the air, touchdown, Pittsburgh. Because they knew that had they called the play the way it should have been called, not a touchdown, that those guys would have been, shall we say, they wouldn't have made it out of the stadium alive. So that's why the Immaculate Deception goes down as being the start of, you definitely need to make sure you have enough security on hand for a bad call.
And part of that was, this is actually considered the very first play where instant replay determined the outcome of the play. What's the word I'm looking for? The referee, the head ref at the time, was pulled back, escorted to the back by a Pittsburgh sideline official, not a referee, but someone who worked for the Pittsburgh Steelers, taken to a back room, was on the phone with the head of the what's his name? The head of the officiating, which his name is going to escape me until I find it. It was Al something.
Roker?
Art something. I don't remember. I'll look. I'll find it here in a minute. But the problem was that he got on the phone with this guy and said, "Okay, well, I need to look at this and see what's going on." The guy said, "Well, we looked at it and we're looking at it, and here's what's going on. You're going to have to give them a touchdown, because if we don't, this is going to be madness." That's kind of the behind the scenes, what went on, and that's pieced together between what the officials said, between what was heard, between what happened at the end. The reason that was not called an
immediate touchdown,
that was not called back, yes, was because, like you said, they were afraid that they were going to have riots. We're not getting out of here alive, folks.
That's right.
And ultimately, there was an apology sent to the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of people don't remember as well is that the next week, the Steelers went on to play the Dolphins and lose to the Dolphins in what would have been a Raiders-Dolphins matchup. The Raiders, I know we can say woulda, coulda, shoulda, but gosh darn it, I know the Raiders would have beat the Dolphins the next week. So because of one bad play, you have the Immaculate Deception, and then you have the Steelers going on to play the Dolphins in the remaining games of the playoff. The Dolphins win, and they don't lose for the rest of the time. If the Raiders would have gotten that damn game called the way correctly, we wouldn't have to worry about a frigging Dolphin tea party, shall we say, at the end of each year when they take the bubbly out to commemorate their unbeaten season. So one play has caused 2 major things in professional football that we need to remember.
Right.
That we're forced to remember.
Art McNally, that's who I was trying to remember.
Art McNally, yes.
Art McNally was the head of the officials. He was the one that was on the phone call with the head referee. And that's why there's an Immaculate Reception. He held on to that play. He held on to that opinion or that statement, whatever it was, until he died, Art McNally. But he just could not ever remember that he was wrong. And actually, I don't even think he's dead yet. He's going to hold on to it until he dies.
Yeah.
Because God forbid, I am not admitting that I did that crap on purpose.
Yeah. Well, now that we've gotten a full dissertation for all of our viewers out there between my memories, your memories, and even Big L's, let's go to the game in question. We got the Steelers coming into Oakland minus James Conner. We got the Steelers coming into Oakland with Ben Rapist Pervert not having won a game in the Coliseum. Give me a call, Angria.
Yeah, I still don't know that we're going to win this game. It's going to take a lot of effort. I mean, anything's possible. I hope we do, but I don't think that we quite have the secondary to beat up on their receivers. They have some amazing receivers.
Well, remember, other than Antonio Brown, Smith-Schuster actually has more yards than Antonio Brown. Now, granted, he has less touchdowns, but
right.
He's a very good receiver in his own right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they have two amazing receivers. And they have a couple of other I mean, don't forget also that Ryan Switzer's there, and he may hold a chip. He may hold a grudge. He may have a little chip on his shoulder about the fact that we traded him. He's been playing pretty well. He looks like he's part of the Steeler. I mean, he looks like he's earned Ben Roethlisberger's confidence, so he'll throw to him, and he's still a good return man. So we're going to have it's going to be a task. I don't think we're going to win.
So you're calling it a Steelers victory?
Yeah.
Close victory?
Maybe.
Ooh, okay.
I think the thing here is that I believe that Derek Carr is a better quarterback than what their secondary has to offer. I believe that if our offensive line can actually put up a fight and they can protect him from getting sacked 3 times, then we may be able to put up enough points to negate any points that our defense might not be able to prevent.
Okay. Big L?
Okay, my thing is this. We were supposed to lose by a shit ton of points last week. And against a suspect defense, our completely, totally inept offense woke up. And not even woke up, but we played up to the level of supposedly the best offense in the league, which, with a completely depleted offense, was pretty damn good. So what that says to me is, oh, and the other thing, by the way, all of you get rid of Derek Carr people. I noticed that you've been really, really quiet the last 3 weeks.
Oh, no. I've seen plenty of that shit. Trust me. Been arguing all day. Some guy told me today.
I haven't seen it because I got out of the crosshairs of the idiot brigade.
You
but
did.
The reality of it is,
some guy told me today.
Huh?
He said, I have to read this tweet that he sent me, because I said I have no problem with his play whatsoever. Derek Carr is amazing, and he said something along the lines of, "Hold on, I'm going to find this because it's really important. It's very, very important."
Quoting?
I'm quoting an idiot on Twitter, a twittiot
on Twitter. Is it an idiot with the we all know?
No, it's not actually.
Oh, it's another idiot. Okay, I put my ears up to the so I can hear. So I just wanted to be sure.
Sorry, I'm trying to find this tweet.
Yeah, see, I don't do Twitter, so I'm like partially idiot proof.
Okay, well, no, you're not. Nah.
I said
no,
partially. Partially.
Okay, well,
I know that I can't be idiot proof.
This one is a good one, though. Come on. Okay, so hold on. I have to find it. I'm going to find this. Oh, my gosh.
Okay, so you
I'll
alert us
eventually
when you find it, but I'm going to continue on with what I'm
saying. Please continue, yes.
Okay.
Oh, here it is!
Oh, she found it.
He says, and I quote, "I understand your personal attachment to Derek. The ladies love his eyes. I, however, am focused on his 30-44 record as a starter and his cowardice in the pocket."
Are you serious?
He said that. He wrote that. It's in writing. I have a screenshot, so in case he deleted it. I asked him, please don't delete this. I need people to see it.
So, See, and it's people like that have never played the game, and all they worry about is statistics, because obviously this is another one of those keyboard kingpins that resides either in his mother's basement or he is a master of his garage that knows little or nothing about what he speaks of, because Carr's record has primarily been due to the fact that he's played for a mediocre team that had the sunshine on the dogs behind 1 year. It takes a team. It's not like he's out there doing it by himself, and if he was, his record would be worse. He's showing signs of improvement and the thing is, he's showing signs of improvement on a team that's been stripped down to the bare bones, that's going to be building for the first time in his professional career. Because he got here to help fix something that's never been fixed the entire time he's been a professional football player. This is going to be the first opportunity for anybody that's been there to actually play for a team that's moving in the same direction. Because it's just been kind of in an ebb and flow kind of thing. Now it's getting repaired, it's getting fixed, and it's getting built. It's never been built before. So, to that moron, you can't see the flag that's flying. But hopefully he feels it.
I just thought it was kind of funny that he said, I must not be seeing anything that's going on because I'm distracted by pretty eyes. I'm like, I can do two things at once, dude. Come on.
Well,
I can
obviously,
multitask.
if that's what he's noticing, maybe he needs to get in touch with his feminine side, since what he's noticing is Derek Carr's eyes.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, maybe it's his brown eye that's winking.
Oh!
Ooh.
Yeah. So, yeah. Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Yeah, I was gonna say, give us your
our
final
offense. I mean, the offense. I mean, that's a patchwork line at very best. So, if we can keep the floodgates partially closed, it could be interesting. And altering our offensive game plan the same way they did against the Chiefs. I mean, it was actually effective because they quit running out of the same scheme and the same formations like they did the week before. Quit being so predictable, and maybe we can start moving upfield instead of 3 and out in half the time. With all that being said, I think it can be a lot closer than us getting destroyed. And with the way the Steelers are in turmoil right now, we might be able to pull this off at home.
Okay.
So I'm leaning towards the Steelers, but I would not be surprised if we pulled this off.
Okay. Angry, I'm sure that you have it probably on tap somewhere. Do you have the overall defensive ranks for Pittsburgh right now by any chance?
I believe I do, yes. Let me pull them up.
That's why
right now,
I can always count on it.
Their defense is ranked 7th. Their overall defense.
Right.
Ours is ranked 28th.
Yeah, that's a big surprise.
Yeah. However,
we're actually better than the Chiefs, though.
I would like to point out that their rushing attack before James Conner was ranked 29th. 29th with James Conner.
Yeah, so that is severely
that
going
bodes
to
well
plummet.
for us.
Exactly.
So, I want to see Maurice Hurst go in and get him some belly full of Ben. And I want to see Arden Key pull up that swim move he did last weekend.
And I want to say one thing as well. There is a certain 50 who that I can recall when he was a rookie that was getting held on every play. And until he actually got to his second year and his third year, he actually started getting calls then. I actually think that Arden Key is going to be that person when people respect what's going on, that Arden Key who is being held maliciously is going to get more calls of holding of the players against him, and he's going to get a lot more capabilities as well as when he gets stronger in the offseason. I think we got a keeper in Arden Key, that's for sure.
I totally agree.
Now, having said that, maybe it's because I just get the really good feeling about this game. And again, I'm not just saying this to say this. Yeah, I definitely want to have a Raiders victory for all to see. I just for somehow just get that screaming what do you call feeling that the Raiders are going to pull off a victory. I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe it's because it's more wishful thinking than anything else. But for some reason, the captain thinks it's going to be another Raiders victory against the Steelers in our house. I don't know what the score is going to be. I just know obviously it's one more point to theirs. Whether it's a lot of one more points or a little one more points, I just think that the Raiders are going to pull off that victory this week. I don't know why. That's just the way I feel.
Sometimes you got to go with your gut, Cap.
Well, I got a big enough gut, so if I go with my gut,
see,
then
it's got a lot to say.
It's got a lot to say. That's for sure. Well, I tell you what, it's been an hour or 15 minutes of great Raider talk. I will let you sign off first, Angria, because it's always a pleasure to hear from you, hon.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Thank you for all of your concern and worry about the earthquake. We did great. Everything was good. And I hope that I'm wrong. I really, really hope that I'm wrong about this weekend.
And L?
I hope you're wrong too, but I know you're right about us, sweetheart.
Oh, Elle, you always make me laugh.
Well, I can make you do a lot more than that.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, let's sign off now.
You enjoy your week, and I'm very, very, very glad you're safe because I know, having lived through a few earthquakes, they're no fun. And I'm glad everything turned out okay. So,
oh, thanks.
Yeah, I lived on the other side of that plate down in California, down in LA. So I know it's no fun, so I'm glad everything turned out okay. And the rest of you guys out there in the nation, we love you. And thank you for listening. Keep listening. Spread the word. And we'll check you guys out next week, and hopefully we'll be celebrating a win. Damn the draft pick. We're gonna get that anyway. So just enjoy the game. Keep it Raider.
And with that having been said, like I said on various shows, I want the wins. And I think that the team is learning how to win. They haven't quite put it together, but I see a culmination. I see the fruition of plans being made. I don't know whether the Raiders are going to be a 2-14 team or a 4-12 team or a 5-11 team. It doesn't matter. This team is learning how to put it together. They're not learning quite how to finish it yet, but I see some good things happening. And I tell you, I definitely hope that some of it's gonna turn out this week. So I tell you what, until next week, to another episode of Coast to Coast Raider Nation. We love listening to you hanging with us. So make sure you put this out. Thanks for the shares. Thanks for coming back and pushing. Say, hey, we got a good show here, and we appreciate all your input as well. For Angria Trask, for Big L, I'm Captain Jack. This has been another episode of Coast to Coast Raider Nation. Come back again, and always Raider on, Raider Nation. We'll see y'all next week on Coast to Coast Raider Nation.